Hello, Richard. I'm Dane Rose, and I've enjoyed you in your conversations with Tim Ferriss and also Aubrey Marcus, prompting me to read your book, which I've been enjoying on Audible. And, having done well over $100,000 worth of largely ineffectual therapies, I'm incredibly excited about IFS, both because it's been the core of the therapy that has worked. Sometimes I've actually had to fight therapists to go in certain directions that have worked out very well, but don't seem to fit the therapeutic model. And and those, like right now, I'll do an email process to myself where I'll write a voice and I'll let voices respond, and then let voices respond to that, and be looking for the self, and looking for where there can be kindness and a resting point, and then unraveling some of those conversations. And that's better than 90% of the therapy out there. And it can be done in 10, 20 minutes on a computer, as opposed to waiting 2 weeks to deal with an issue and driving somewhere and paying large sums of money and often being interrupted, trying to get to the core issue. So bravo on following your clients into a more effective mode of thinking. And, towards the end of the book, you talk a little bit about the family system of America and the possibilities of what I would call a 10X culture, of a culture led by self, a country led by self. Now, I don't know how realistic you consider it, meaning whether or not you think it's probable for any country on earth to go through and live that protocol over the next 100, 200, maybe 300 years. However, it is very probable at the level of a microculture. And I believe that the pivot point towards 10X countries or 10X larger cultures are 10X microculture. Now, Dunbar, in his research, suggests that it is impossible to intimately know more than 150 people. That if you grow up together and have a fair amount of transparency in a healthy environment, you can intimately know as much as 150 people, but not more. The brain is not capable of holding that amount of complexity with ease naturally. And you also may know that empathy does not emerge without understanding. Understanding does not emerge without seeing, without knowing. And empathy does not emerge without understanding. In other words, the doorway to our humanity, to the human brain, and out of the rational reptilian brain, the rational brain, the rational reptile, is intimacy. Right? If you want to interact largely with reptilian brains using the fight, flight, freeze, please protocol, well, you simply have a lot of strangers together that do not know enough to know what they don't know and don't know enough to know what they do know. And in their fear of the unknown, in their projection of their greatest fears, interact with strangers. Right? and fail repeatedly to attune and connect because there's so many data points that nobody knew that they didn't know. And of course, I've lived this most of my life, right? I don't think there's a single person on the planet who has made it their business to know the things about me that they would need to know to deeply attune to me. And I don't take that personally. What that's saying is that nobody knows very much about anyone. And a lot of that is scale, right? So this converges me on groups of 50 to 150 people that take the time, right? That love enough to care, that care enough to take time, that take enough time to see, that see enough to understand, that understand enough to empathize, that empathize enough to attune, and that attune enough to succeed at facilitating first their own and other people's human needs to survive, be secure in that survival, experience love and belonging, discover and develop self-esteem, develop one's talents, create abundance and value for oneself and other people by bringing those talents into the world, and on the foundation of that abundance and that abundance mindset, serving and becoming part of something more. Right? This is the path of love. It is the blossoming of human potential. It is the moving from the reptilian brain to the human brain, which is the foundation for moments of transcendence. It's the lineal sequence of love, real love, not the fantasies based on projection. Now, we are focused on data, right? Science, data, that's our mindset. But if you can show in an app groups of 50 to 150 people creating 1,000% higher quality of living, of sustainable well-being at 1/10 the cost of, my or perhaps your lifestyle, as well as the path to get there, the path to repair trauma, right? If you can do that, here's a way you can spend less time, money, and natural resources having a significantly higher level of human well-being, far less stress, far less trauma, more sustainable well-being. You can do that. That is a seed that can replicate in groups of 50 to 150 people. So having explored the physics of the psyche, right, and our outer physics, that's my project. Happiness Data, and then subsequently 10x Living and 10x Technology are nonprofits that I formed so that I could donate my money and my time without having to pay taxes on the former, to creating microcultures that work and documenting their failures and successes, because failures and successes are not about people, they're about protocols. And so the more we can get out what doesn't work and what does, we can start, of course, having opinions about why something succeeded and why it doesn't. But the most important thing is to know, if you want to generate a microculture that's 1,000% more intelligent in terms of the well-being generated for the amount of energy consumed, that is the measure of intelligence. To have 10 times more intelligent cultures, we need microcultures that can be seeds and data that can be exported for copying, iterating in a protocol where where you share what works and what doesn't, what you did and what the outcome was. Right. So I'm doing that in Costa Rica on 50 of the most beautiful acres in the world. And I think that there's a wonderful place for IFS in this recipe, right? Because people are going to be arriving disintegrated, split off from self, never having met self in many cases, confused, right? Brainwashed with their existing cults. And that has to get unraveled, right? Before, intelligent interaction becomes natural. So I'll include a link below to the project in Medicina. And perhaps you know someone or would like to play a role in some way in its formation. And with the goal, it's under the auspices of my nonprofits, because the goal is to keep iterating until that recipe is found and share, the metadata in an ongoing fashion with what works. And if you're serious about a country, right, blossoming out of IFS in perhaps the next 300 years, right? The seeds are, can it be produced by a group of people, 50 to 150? That's enough. That's enough to create a cocoon, a microculture. Can it be created? Can it be replicated, right? Once you've got a protocol of replication and that metadata and also documentaries are available on YouTube and you know how to create that, it spreads naturally. Everyone wants a higher quality of life for a lower cost, right? It's human nature. The question is, how can it be done? Thanks for your attention and your work.